are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 11. Who reads these gossip rags anyway?
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
And we're back to the Savage FINcast. I'm Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
And I'm Raven
I'm
Perez.
Adam Pruitt.
Adam, you're back.
I'm back. Back in a big way.
And we got the whole gang back together now, except for Gavin.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
What was the last episode you were on, Adam? Like 2 or 3 episodes ago?
Yeah, so at least that. It's been a little bit. I've been basically just extremely busy with work, and like I work from home and I take care of my kid, so I don't have a lot of free time most of the time.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, it's good to have you back on.
It was episode 6 back in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back when we were all like teenagers.
Yeah. Grew up since then. Got
Still
our man
have my
hair.
braces on. I'm getting there. Man hair.
So, Adam, since you haven't been here in a while, you've been reading anything interesting lately?
I have. I just reread Ed the Happy Clown. Are you guys familiar with that at all?
No, I haven't heard of that.
I think I have. Who did that?
It's a Chester Brown book. He's a cartoonist who, in the 80s, he had a comic called Yummy Fur, and it's just full of weird stuff. And
Newspaper comic, right?
No, like a comic book.
Oh.
And this was originally collected, I don't know, sometime in the early 90s. I don't remember who published the original version, but it might have been Fantagraphics or something. This new one is a hardcover. It's a super nice edition from Drawn and Quarterly, who are pretty much my favorite publisher on the planet. And it's just this beautiful edition. The story is so fucked up. It's this weird stream of consciousness tale, and it's extremely disturbing and funny. And it's about this guy named Ed, who's a clown who has all these very weird and surreal things happen to him. And I just recommend it to everybody because, like, you got to sit down and like read it all in one sitting because it's just so strange. But it's one of my favorite comics ever, and so I was totally fine with double dipping and buying the new edition again. And it's a beautiful edition. So much recommended. Ed the Happy Clown from Drawn and Quarterly.
Nice. I like Drawn and Quarterly stuff.
Yeah.
Craig.
What are you reading, Jim?
Oh, what am I reading?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been... Actually, a really surprising book came out of IDW recently that really surprised me that I'd be a fan, especially since IDW is not currently one of my favorite publishers, mostly because of how expensive they are, and a lot of them are licensed titles that honestly feel more like an excuse to publish variant covers than actual comic content. But I took a chance on this one, and I have been pleasantly surprised. And that comic is Transformers Regeneration 1, which, if you don't know, is a direct continuation of the Transformers comic series that Marvel did throughout the 80s and mid-90s. It picked up, I think, on issue 82, where the original series ended on 81. And it's Transformers. And what's curious about, my liking it is that I'm not really a huge Transformers fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched some of the cartoons as a kid. I own the toys, but I've never been really obsessive about it. I don't read all the, other stuff out there. I tried it once and got my fill, and then I kind of put it aside. But I think what got me was the writer, number one, is Simon Furman, who, of course, wrote the original series. And I like Simon Furman. He created one of my favorite comic characters of all time, Death's Head. I don't know if you've ever read Death's Head.
Yeah, I read the
It's just
original.
weird.
It's yeah, but I've always been a fan of Simon Furman, so as a writer, I gave it a chance. It picks up on a series that I had not read before. I was, skeptical that I'd be able to follow along. Fortunately, IDW had the good sense to republish the last 4 issues in a compilation book before they relaunched. So that helped out a lot with getting into the flow of it, because it takes place 27 years after the end of the last series.
Wow.
So a lot of things have changed. The big one being, it's tough. The ending of issue 82 is such a big twist. I don't really want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it, because it's really kind of sets up the whole thing. But it just surprised me with how, I don't know, how old school, how classic the whole thing feels.
Do they have like the human characters? Like I remember like from the cartoon, like Spike and stuff. So are they like 27 years older?
Spike Witwicky is a major character of this current story arc. And that's all I'll say about that. But who's in it? Optimus Prime's in it, of course, and Cup and the Wreckers. I don't know. I don't know if any of you guys are longtime Transformers fans.
I liked it when I was a kid, and I loved the movie.
Yeah. Well, this definitely has the. You know how the movie kind of feels more mature than the show. The killing of characters, I guess the swear word. Like in the DVD set, the chapter is called "Swear Word." I think who was it? It was
I remember watching it in the movie theater with my cousin and just being like, "What? Did he just swear?" and geeking out over it.
But this series is good because it takes that sort of, it doesn't pull any punches. It's not afraid to kill off characters or really do really twisted things with the characters. And because it's not like tied into any TV shows or anything, Furman can really just go to town with like doing whatever the hell he wants. So it's a series that really feels like where things can happen and they won't be reset, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's got that kind of Savage Dragon thing where if characters die, they stay dead, or et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's just
That's cool.
It's just really surprising how much I liked it. Because, like I said, I'm not an IDW fan, I'm not a Transformers fan, but it's just clicking with something really, I don't know. It's like got the best components of like a classic superhero series that.
So how did they sell you on it? Like, since you were never like a fan, what made you just decide to pick it up?
Geez, I don't know. That's it. I saw it previewed.
Yeah.
Previews, and I said, "Hey, new Transformers series, continuation of Marvel series." Because I knew vaguely about the Marvel series. I never read it, but I knew enough about it. I don't know. It's just I don't even know what sold me on it. I think Simon Furman, and I think the interior art wasn't like this modern. The interior art's something probably to talk about too. I'm probably going on a little too long about this, but it's got this. I believe they got the original artist, or at least the artist that was still working on it at the time the series ended. So that's also so it's a kind of a throwback, really. If you read the other Transformers comics that IDW publishes, the art's all like modern, and you don't get as many panels.
You're talking like Dreamwave-esque?
Yeah, Dreamwave-esque. It's very stylized. In this case, it is stylized, but it's like in that 80s way, I guess.
I never liked those, like, kind of Dreamwave brought kind of a more rounded look to everything, and I didn't dig it.
Yeah, things are definitely more blocky. Character designs are definitely more like they could be toys, I guess. They're actually, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's got this very old school vibe to it. And I think that's what really grabbed me, is that it wasn't trying to be modern. It's definitely trying to be a throwback to like those 80s sci-fi comics.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's what grabbed me, is that it's a sci-fi comic, really. It's an action adventure sci-fi comic, and I always dig action adventure sci-fi comics. In this case, it's just got that the Transformers pulled me in. And I kind of like the idea that it was a relaunch of a series, it was a continuation, not a reboot. I always like that sort of thing.
Cool.
So yeah, a lot of words about Transformers.
Oh, sounds like, an awesome direction to take it. I mean, if you're going to touch on such an old property, that's kind of cool to do it that way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that stuff as well. So, sweet.
Greg, what are you reading?
Well, I'm reading a bunch of books. Of course, I rambled on about a majority of the stuff I've been reading on past podcasts, but I've really been into Joe Keating's Glory, and we had him on as a guest, I think back in, was it March or something, when issue 23 was coming out, which is what he was starting his run on with Glory. He took like a 1-month hiatus, and now it's back with issue 29, and I've just really been digging this book. It's just a lot of different surprises. It's beautiful. Ross Campbell's art is just great to look at. Lots of different alien kind of creatures, lots of violence, lots of twists and turns.
Don't you think he's just blowing it up on that book? Because he's not necessarily new, but I mean, I just feel like he is blowing up on Glory.
Yeah, there's just so many different creatures for him to draw and just to go nuts on, like just going crazy with his imagination. I think he's having a lot of fun with it, and it shows.
The first trade of that has come out already, right?
Yeah, I believe
because
so.
I may have fell asleep at the switch and I have not read it yet. I will get on top of that soon.
It's fun.
I love Glory. It's so good.
Yeah, the character,
it's awesome.
The Glory character, it's just so different than any other character that I've read. She's just like a beast of a woman, and like she's like a warrior, and she's not attractive at all. And I think even as the series goes on, she gets less and less attractive. But it's fine. It works, and it's got weird situations and.
Yeah, I think I've kind of been getting that impression looking at this previews and solicitation info about it. Her character design seems to be getting more and more, I guess, non-feminine as time has gone on.
Yeah, it's cool. This new issue 29's got a few shocking scenes, which are actually pretty cool and something I haven't seen really in a comic before. So, I don't know. I'm just really digging it. It's like a fresh take on a
I feel like
superhero character.
The last one I saw, like, she had called in her sister, which was a big surprise. And I guess, are they an issue past that, or?
Yeah, well, I think so. If that's the new issue just came out last week, and her sister's in it. And I think her sister appeared in the issue before, at the end or something.
Yeah, well, there you go. I guess I'm an issue down. Right on.
Yeah, and Jen, it's almost more like a sci-fi comic than a superhero comic in a way too.
Really?
You're reading Prophet, right, Jim?
Oh yeah.
It's right in line with that, man.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. I'll check it out for certain then.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. I'm really really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the art and the storytelling, and I think it's the real deal. So. I will stop there before I ramble on too much. How about you, Raven? You got anything new?
It's been slim pickings lately because I've been on like a Savage Dragon hunt. So I actually have been buying so much of that I've only got 6 issues to go until I'm finished. So that's awesome. But
you're like what, back issues?
Yeah. So that's like where all my comic dollars been going.
Is it the main series or like all the spin-offs?
The main series. Yeah, so I've kind of like my comic dollar's not been going to much else, but I'm almost finished with that. So like very little to talk about, but what I'm really like reading, one of the few things I'm reading that's not like Savage Dragon is this manga called Bakuman, which it's the weirdest concept for a thing ever, but it's surprisingly awesome. It's a comic about comic creators.
Oh, is that the one by the Death Note guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which, if you don't know Death Note's like the Walking Dead of manga. Like, you could show Walking Dead to people who don't read comics, and they're probably going to like it and read it. Like, you could show Death Note to people that don't like manga, and they're going to probably like it. So these guys are talented anyway, and this comic about comic creators shouldn't be good, because it's just people sitting around talking about making comics. God, it's so awesome. It's great. If you make comics, you should probably read it. And if you don't make them and you want to kind of know about it, like what goes into it and the level of dedication and stuff and like how it like consumes your life away, but you don't care because it's awesome and fun for you, you should read it. It's good. It's surprisingly good.
And they play it pretty straight. It's not like no fantastic elements to it or anything like that.
Sadly, there's fantastic elements like right out of the gate. The concept is that it's like, when they start, they're high school kids, and the series progresses in like extremely rapid time. Like they're like already out of college now, and it's only been like 8 books. But like yeah, like when it starts, the fantastic element is that they're so young and they're like getting in there and doing stuff. But I mean, it's pretty much it's comedy with a little bit of like there's some drama every now and then, but it's more laughs. I don't know. There's a romance element. I mean, it's kind of all over the map. Like I said, it's one of those things that shouldn't be good, but if you start reading it, you'll probably fall in love in no time. And it is cool for that insight, even though there are fantastic elements. Like it kind of like really shows you a good insight you probably didn't even realize to like that whole scene over there, because they talk a lot about the editorial process. And I had no idea that series over there get the axe by like reader votes in the anthologies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, like, the readers vote
Yeah.
on what's in the book. And if
comics-
the votes aren't there,
Their comic scene is a bit interesting, and it's how it works. It's a lot different than how it goes on over here.
it's cool. It's really, it's. I thought I knew a bunch, and I guess I just didn't know crap. So
What's the name of the title again?
I'm probably saying it wrong. There's probably like, because I never like bothered to learn to pronounce things right.
Yeah.
But it's Bakuman, and it'll probably say from the creators of Death Note on it. It's only got like 15 volumes out or something. But yeah, it's definitely worth a read. And like I said, if you make comics or something, it's one of the few things I've ever seen like in print or TV or anywhere that really, I just read it and I was like, oh my God, I super relate to this stuff.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun read. And weird.
That's cool. Well,
Can't wait
who's
to get
putting that out?
more American stuff. It's just from Shonen Jump.
It's,
Like the same guys that do Dragon Ball and One Piece and all that crap.
yeah, it's Viz Media. They publish all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. They're the Marvel DC rolled into one
Yeah.
of Japan.
Well, yeah. They're the U.S. publishing arm. That's right.
Mm-hmm. It's good, though.
I read a bunch of manga from Viz. I'll talk about some of them.
You reading Bakuman?
No, I don't read Bakuman. I read 20th Century Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, that's a good book.
We'll talk about that at some other future point.
Yes.
Much beloved.
So, should we move on and talk about some Erik Larsen news?
Let's do some news.
All right. First piece of Erik Larsen news is a biggie.
The worst kept secret.
Yeah. Well, it turns out Erik Larsen bought the ant character from Mario Gully. After much fan speculation, Erik announced earlier this month that he did indeed purchase the character. And in regards to the future of the character, Erik stated that he didn't want to simply dump her into Savage Dragon and have her become another supporting character. And his thoughts were that he'll either wrap up the book where Mario left it and then do a miniseries or something and possibly an ongoing. Since then, he's posted a bunch of images on Facebook which look like layouts to like a new issue, and he did a few logo tests, which he's got like an old school looking ant logo, which looks pretty cool. And also recently, I think he said that what might happen is Mario Gully will do like the 12th issue of Ant, because on the second volume, I believe it came out through Image and it was like 1 through 11. And then they did like a third volume, but that's not going to be in canon for what Erik owns. So I think Larsen said that Gully's going to wrap up the Image series with an issue 12, and then Erik was going to start either a miniseries or an ongoing. And if Mario couldn't get 12 out fast enough, he would just reboot it, and then let Mario get his issue 12 out whenever, he could get it out. So that's that. I think I have the first couple of issues of Ant from like 2005 when it came out through Image, because it had like Arachnid in it, and I think Erik was actually helping Mario with layouts back then. But I'm not too familiar with the character. I didn't collect it past issue 2. And from what I've seen and heard from Erik, it sounds like he's going to play the character a little different than how Mario had her. And it almost seems like he's going to be like Eric's kind of version of Spider-Man or something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting case all around. The idea of a creator like Erik who, he creates a lot of characters, buying a character basically wholesale from another creator. I can't think of any other particular circumstances where I've seen that happen that wasn't, at a corporate level,
Todd McFarlane and Marvel Man, or
That's true. Marvel Man's a good
Miracle Man or
case.
whatever.
Miracle Man, Marvel Man, whichever.
It was pretty unique, though.
Yeah. It's got to be a weird thing. Like, at some point when we interview Erik, I'd like to ask him how do you, when you're writing someone else's character, even though you own her, is it a little weird? Like, when you want to change something, or?
That's probably why he wants to reboot it completely, so he doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Of course, when he says reboot, does he mean like pick it up at some point in the future, or clean reboot? There's a lot of different ways to do it, like Supreme.
I think he wants to leave some of the old elements in, but it's, from what I understand, that the story is so like out of whack, like
convoluted from all the reboots.
Yeah, just like the dream sequences, and they're not. I don't know, but I wasn't that into the character when it came out, and I know I think Erik has really been fascinated with this character because I always remember him like talking up Ant, and like I said, he kind of did layouts for Mario and stuff, and obviously he bought the character, so he's like super into the character. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something that he really likes about it. I mean, I guess the design is pretty cool. So
I guess
from a design standpoint, like, it's funny because I heard him say that it was iconic, and it is true that out of all the little come and go heroes that have been in and out of existence in the last whatever, even though I never followed Ant, that is kind of a design you remember. It's memorable.
That is true, although I've always thought she looked like Girl Carnage.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, when her first couple of series were coming out, I was aware because it was in previews and Erik was talking about her, but I would never had any desire to read it. But then I never had any desire to read Supreme either, so we'll see how that goes.
It just always felt over the top a little bit, like cheeseball. Like every shot was like ants
it's a little,
in my face. But
yeah, it was.
I mean, it's fine. I like that once in a while, but there's too many other comics that have that.
Right.
Let's say it was like that was my impression, is that it was like Ant was the answer for Buttman to all the comics are generally like a leg and boob kind of a thing. So that was like Ant was the most Buttman character that ever was.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Jennifer Lopez in a Venom suit.
I know that sounds funny, but yeah, that's exactly it. That was my impression, is this character is really memorable despite being super simple, and every shot of this character, her butt is at you.
So that's that.
It's a funny impression.
Other bit of news, apparently Tom Scioli, who you may know we talked about before about his work on American Barbarian and what's the new one?
Godland.
Yeah, he works on Godland. Good point. You may know him from Godland or American Barbarian. He apparently has made a pitch for Supreme after Erik leaves. He recently published a mock Supreme cover on his Facebook account and indicated that he was making a pitch to Rob Liefeld to take over the book after Erik leaves. As we explained last FINcast, Erik will be concluding his run on the series within the next 2 issues. When asked by a commentator if he had contacted the relevant people about it, he said yes. It had been a long time since I chased work for hire jobs, but I'm feeling a pull towards the character because of how formative Alan Moore's run was to his development as a creator. He described the mock cover as Ethan Crane in an exosuit made of repurposed Suprematon parts. Yeah, Suprematon parts versus Mean Supreme. See, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he was looking to directly continue Erik's.
The little promo image is it kind of fits right in line with what's happening.
Now you mention it, now it makes more sense to me what was going on in that mock cover. Being Ethan Crane versus Mean Supreme, because I was a little worried that they were basically going to do what Erik did and just do his own thing.
No, I think.
I was worried he wasn't going to do what Erik did, where he used the stuff from the past and just do a clean break and a new interpretation. So it's actually kind of cool that he does seem to have intent to continue what Erik has set up.
We definitely got to link the image on the FINcast
Yes.
site or something, because I'm a huge fan of Tom's, and you either like him or you don't. If you like Kirby's art and stuff like that, you're gonna like him. If you're not into old school looks, you probably won't like it as much. But
I don't know. I'm kind of a mixed opinion about him. I mean, I think his art's kind of neat, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I think his storytelling can be a little. I don't want to say sloppy. That's wrong. It's more like it moves at such a fast pace. I mean, I read all of his webcomic stuff, but again, that's free, and I get it through my RSS reader, so it's easy to keep up with. But I like him, and I have problems with him, and I definitely probably keep reading Supreme if he took over.
well, I think like what you're reading, if you're reading like American Barbarian, I think that's more of like an experiment he's doing, where he's just kind of going on the fly. It's not like a scripted kind of story. He was just doing like, all right, now I'll do a panel, now I'll come up with something else. But I think his approach would be a little different if, he was writing Supreme more in line with his like Myth of Eight Opus stuff. Which
I think it's cool because like one of the things that really was awesome about the Glory and Prophet relaunch is they kind of put oddball talent with the properties, and it wasn't just oddball talent. It was oddball talent with like big ideas.
Yeah.
And that in that single image, Tom really kind of like married that whole thing of like a match you wouldn't think, like an oddball idea, and yet it also carried on what Erik's doing. So I don't know. Something about that image just grabbed me.
Yeah,
man. I was like, yeah, I'd read
Yeah.
that.
It did
same
me
here.
too.
I saw that image and you just look at it and you want to know what's going on. It's not some
Yeah.
lame kind of bunch of guys just posing or whatever. It's like, I want to find out what's going on here. Why is there all these like robot pieces attached to this guy? Why is this skull floating in the middle of space? What the hell is going on here? And I love
think-
that.
Trying to remember, my first reaction was it reminded me of Stardust the Super Wizard, if you guys know what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, but that was more stylistic because of
Plain.
how weird Supreme's anatomy looked, I think.
Yeah. I just love everything about Tom Scioli stuff. He's got so much energy and imagination, and
He has that. I'll agree with that.
yeah,
I heard he was here in Pittsburgh. Like, I recently learned that out.
he lives in
So,
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Tom, if you were like, I saw footage of like him and a bunch of like the guys that put Aphrodisiac together.
Oh, going through the
shopping.
the basement.
Yeah, the New Dimension thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, New Dimension. If you guys are in the area, Tom, if you hear that, hit us up. I'll interview you for the Savage FINcast.
Yes, do. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I would love that. Even if it's just an email, that'd be great.
I'm sure.
Just anything, it'd be cool.
I'm sure we can get him on. He's a really nice guy, and I've talked to him before at conventions, and he loves to talk comics.
Let's when we know for certain what Supreme's doing, we'll definitely have him on the show.
Cool.
And by definitely, I mean we'll definitely ask him to be on the show.
We'll definitely
Let's
have
not
him.
promise something we can't
We'll
deliver.
definitely kidnap him and force him to speak on our show. So, shall we dive into discussion of Savage Dragon 182?
The main event.
Let's shall.
Cool. This was one of my favorite Savage Dragon issues in a while.
Amen.
Yeah, I think we've all universally agreed that this issue was something else.
Blew up.
What you guys were saying about everybody seeming to like be really jazzed about this issue. I think one of the reasons is because it gets into the street level stuff, and we're moving forward with, here's heroes on the ground fighting the villains, and there's a lot of character development and stuff, versus these like big, invasion story and all the like sort of previous world ending stuff that we've just been contending with recently. And I was listening to your guys, one of your last episodes that I wasn't able to be on, and you were talking about how you thought one of the problems with the invasion story was it was too tight. Like you tried to do too much in too few issues, and I totally agreed with that. And I think this is more comfortable. We're getting back into a more comfortable pace of kind of, I think, the stuff that people want to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. It definitely felt like it was more like you said, more down to earth, more. It feels like there's no like finish line too close, so it feels like it has like room to breathe.
Yeah, like I would have
Yeah,
loved
absolutely.
for the invasion story to have been as big in scale as the sort of you were talking about before, with maybe gone on for a couple more issues. I think it just ended up being, he got to a point where there's these issues, they're just full of characters and there's so much stuff that you have to do, and I think a couple of those issues were really difficult to complete, and then as he was getting through them, he was like, all right, I'm done with this, we got to move on. And I understand that, and I wish maybe it had been a little bit longer, but I'm glad that I think he's into what he's doing more now than when he was working on those last couple issues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. In the past when he's done big events like Mars Attacks, Savage Dragon or something, there was the fan base or just comics in general doing a lot better where you could have a spin-off comic and throw a lot of that into like Freak Force or, Mars Attacks, Savage Dragon or Mars Attacks Image, and then dedicate like an issue or two or even just one issue to it, but lob a lot of that stuff into supporting books. And now it's you want
to be fair, he did do that with Vanguard
as the backup.
Or at least, yeah. So Vanguard took a bit of that load as well because it was dealing with the same events from a different angle.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I still feel like it's just you wanted to get that feeling like it was a huge invasion, and it's like you had like 3 issues to do it in. And you didn't feel like it spread across, the whole like Image universe, or it's just tough to do.
It just never really felt like Malcolm and Angel's role in the whole thing. I think we talked about this before. It didn't feel like they had any meaningful role to the story. It was just the attack happened and stuff happened, and they just happened to be caught up in a small part of it, and they didn't really have anything to do with the resolution. Whereas in 182, they're front and center, and their story matters.
Right.
Yeah, it's all Malcolm and Angel.
Everything
again.
they do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Ed.
No, I was just agreeing. It's all Malcolm and Angel again, and that we care a lot more about Malcolm and Angel than we do a lot of the extraneous characters. So it matters.
And everyone they deal with is got like a tight connection. Like all the villains they fight, they all know each other. Like there's a history between them, And that's the cool thing about the book now is Malcolm and Angel are starting to get history with some of these villains, and it's really clicking. It's not like they're fighting some, I don't know, nameless alien or nameless unlimited ugly guy. It's they're fighting characters they have prior history with, and I think it's kind of cool.
Plus, it seemed like this issue, whereas obviously the whole point of the arc was to pay attention to the alien invasion. This issue seemed to do something like I feel like old Dragon issues did, which was have like several threads just roll right through a single issue and yet all be relevant.
Absolutely.
Invincible stole some of Savage Dragon's thunder that exact same way, and I think both books are best when that's how they're written.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of stuff like with the religious thing. It's just a page. But it's just dropped in there, and it matters. Like 2 or 3 or 10 issues down the line. That's what I used to love about Savage Dragon. You'd put a page in, and it would pay off down the line. And with this issue, that's it.
You've kind of gone back to that, the mid '90s Dragon or the late '90s Dragon, where you got these 4 or 5 different subplots running through, and they're all going to pay off at one point or another, or they're getting solved in the book, but it's really neat. It's really a good use of a lot of characters in one book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that was it. I think that's what I said. I made the comment that Savage Dragon, people like to say it's comics done right, but I feel like this issue was Savage Dragon done right. Like, when it's at its best, it's doing this kind of, it's carrying this kind of workload,
Right. Yeah, this issue definitely put in some work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's dense. I mean, there's a lot happening.
If you want let's just go through it. But, the first page starts up with, Operation Born Again, which has been, something that's been in this book forever.
Teased. Yeah, it's been well. Yeah, that's right. It's been around forever because that's what Super Patriot came out of, right?
Did Super Patriot come out of Operation Born Again? Probably.
Or was Cyberface's resurrection?
They brought him back, with that, and it's got tie-ins with Rob's book because that's what Bloodstrike's all based on, Operation Born Again, and Bloodstrike's been relaunched too, so it kind of, it's kind of cool that it works along.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, the thing with the Bloodstrike guys is that it's like a group of, a government team that can go in and get all mauled and destroyed and get killed and be brought back to life. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that was something that, Larsen kind of borrowed from Liefeld. So it's kind of cool that that's kind of brought in and they're trying to resurrect Skullface, which is Thunderhead's dad. And it's cool to see Thunderhead back because he's probably like one of the first real villains of Malcolm, without his father around.
Right. He's one of the first really recurring villains that's tied to Malcolm and not necessarily.
Definitely call him like a Malcolm era character.
Right.
And I love it. I like these kind of villains. For a while, Erik was just kind of putting in these kind of like ugly unlimited guys, which are just random mutant guys, and dragging them. Malcolm was beating the crap out of them, and
yeah, guys who would drag themselves out of the what was it called, the Forbidden Zone or whatever after Chicago got crushed during Savage World, just random dudes.
Yeah, it's good now to see. What I really like is just seeing reoccurring bad guys, even War God is in this, and War God, for as long he's been around Dragon since at least the teens or the 20s. I know he was in the Gang War series. And he's one of Erik's coolest looking characters, and he really hasn't done much in the book, but just the fact that he always reappears and is kind of like somewhere in the background is just kind of cool, as opposed to just some random kind of goblin looking guy. It's just neat to see that history and see him, and I am disappointed that he died in this issue.
I also say that anytime like you can throw a graveyard with really like ornate like angels and like all kinds of stuff, that's good comics.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the backgrounds in this particular scene. The cemetery scene was just really, the detail is just really wow.
It was an answer almost for people that were like, too much negative space.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a great looking graveyard.
I especially like the use of the black border to the whole thing. It really gives it a creepy vibe, just in time for Halloween.
And
that was kind of a 90s thing too, right?
Right.
What's that?
The black borders.
The black borders.
Yeah, I guess. I really dig Erik Larsen trees.
Yeah, just a circle with all kinds of links in them. But they look good, and I mean it's awesome because, like I said, it's really like solid cartooning. And yet, I mean, like that's a cram-packed cemetery.
Yep.
I don't know. It's cool. Also, too, I guess this scene's taking place at night, so the black borders do their work there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just good.
Definitely.
I am double page spread. One of the best.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just awesome to see Angel punching a guy in the face, I guess.
I'm really surprised that Erik didn't take this opportunity to put a bunch of like joke names on the graveyard stones.
Oh yeah. I'm looking now. You got me looking, but now I see some visual shorthand to like indicate letters, but yeah, I don't see any gag names.
Yeah, I would expect one or two graves to be like, like we were saying, Phil McCracken or
John Day.
Yeah. Anyway.
So we get ourselves a nice little fight scene. Malcolm and Thunderhead go at it.
Yeah, two guys with electric powers punching away at each other.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Again, a great visual for night. Like just to have two guys with electric powers fighting at night, that's awesome. That like adds to the visual.
Yeah, you get that one page where like the whole background's glowing because they're punching the crap out of each other.
Fracka Zack.
That's it, yeah. Which is a great, like, that's just fantastic.
Tell you, now that we talk about Nikos did a great job coloring this issue.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another thing. This was a gorgeous looking, episode, like issue, and like I heard you say, Jim, the sound effects are just like fantastic.
Yeah,
on this.
yeah. But you look at like every punch, and it's like, the electric powers are lit up, and you look at when Dragon punches Thunderhead into the Born Again machine, and it just like it's got that big orange glow, and as it like fades away from the glow, you can see like the darker night, but you can see like the real glow of the machine. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
I have
He's really come to his own.
Oh yeah, Nikos has definitely improved. I was really harsh on the guy for a long time,
Mhm.
but now that everything doesn't glow like the sun, it's great.
Yeah, I think his problem was that, and like the little flare things and stuff like that was a little much sometimes. Or like the
Put
shiny
the dodge
things.
tool away, Nikos. Put it down. Step away. Don't
Yeah,
go
like
get
the light
her.
is overwhelming stuff in like really good like ways. Like you look at the panel of like Angel, smacking the dude in the cape. I'm such a his names
War
are
God.
escaping me, but War God, she's punching him out. Pow, all huge, and like you can see like he's got a color hold on his cape, but like Angel's perfect blacks. I don't know, it's nice, it's subtle, it's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And
He stepped up his game. I feel he's coming to it.
Yeah.
Big time.
and poor War God gets cremated, basically.
One thing I always liked is how when characters accidentally kill somebody, which happens a lot, they react to it.
Oh yeah.
You gotta wonder how messed up that makes you watching everyone die around you.
Yeah.
Well, Malcolm accidentally wasted the hillbilly guy with the mullet.
Yep.
So now it's tit for tat,
War and Terror.
War and Terror, yeah.
There you go.
And then didn't Angel's mom, Jennifer, waste the little brainchild? Remember when she freaked out? Like,
Yeah, she beat it to death, right? Went nuts.
and she lost her
yeah, that's
crap
right.
after that.
I think that happened in... This is going way back. I think that happened back in Dimension X, too. She basically got overly protective and killed something, and it really messed her up.
Right.
You just love all that smoke pouring off of like War God's charred corpse, and like his eye is like half his face is just falling off. It's just nice little attention to detail.
And what happens next is pretty cool. It's, basically Thunderhead tries to run away, and you kind of feel for the guy. He's all, he lost his buddy War God, and, the machine, the Born Again machine's busted, so his dad's not going to be coming back. And,
Yeah, he kind of takes on you feel as sympathetic for him as like Mako.
Yeah, all his dreams are dead.
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of it like that. He's another kind of sympathetic character where he's just trying to really get by, but he's going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, he's got a hideous look, He's kind of like villainous looking, even if he was trying to be nice. So it's kind of working to that same element where, like, this is not going to be a guy that's going to be babysitting kids.
Right.
Well, it's got that thing, too, the callback to, since Skullface is his dad, right?
Right.
So, like, Skullface is pretty much one of the very first villains we ever saw in Savage Dragon. And then he was a big baddie early on in the book. And so it's cool that now that they're establishing, the sort of Malcolm and Angel and their supporting cast, that there's this guy who's there who's, sort of like the answer to Malcolm's dragon. And we don't yet know what this new development means for the future of their relationship. Like, are they going to continue to be sort of enemies, or are they going to be on better terms, or what? Like,
Right.
I mean, just the whole Skullface's the whole story I've always thought that was one of the more interesting sort of villain stories, and so I'm anxious to see where this guy goes.
Hey,
purple. Like he's got the purple pants. Remember how Malcolm wore purple flannel for like years?
Yeah, he had the
Yep.
I miss it. I miss it terribly.
he had the purple shirt, flannel shirt in every episode.
It's in the genes. It's genetic.
You know, one thing that's
Three
cool.
guys wear purple. That's like a rule.
The one thing that's cool too is that like he wears like sneakers and his they're weird purple pants, but they're more like pants than an outfit, and his shirt's more like a shirt than, you know, it's like a cut off shirt. So he's not necessarily dressing like in a costume as much as he just got like some funky duds.
Oh, he had to put those lightning bolts on by hand, I'm sure.
And you notice,
You think those bolts on his heads are genetic or like what
I don't
is
know.
that?
But you notice like
It's like a tip.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, but it seems like the vicious circle like kids all kind of just wear street clothes, and I don't know. I'm guessing that's kind of just shorthand to imply they're kids. You know, give them a baseball cap or sneakers instead of like boots.
Clothes from the Goodwill.
But I think it's kind of cool. You know, maybe it's, you know, they're just gonna start dressing in like regular clothes, and who knows? But it's something I've noticed.
Maybe that goes right in line with Thursday Dark Lord's, you know,
There
sweat
you
clothes.
go.
Everybody's going to be rocking casual in Savage Dragon. Yeah, it is cool that for them, just that wrinkle of them to be brothers, and not even direct brothers, but like, you know, that connection just adds such an awesome layer of depth to that character that was already interesting. Because that's something in this book, even when people are like siblings or whatever from other dimensions, they seem to care about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I almost sometimes think they don't deal with that enough. Like, you don't see the Janey twins or the Johnson twins enough to really see how they're getting on with their alternate dimension parents.
They'll just show up grown one day.
Yeah. Actually, that's actually one of the things I actually lament is that you don't see them in the same high school as Angel and Malcolm, so you don't really
They would
get the
They
sense.
would make a good addition, wouldn't they?
Yeah. You get the little wise guys all the time. I always just kind of would rather get the characters we know from their time in Dimension X, because you wonder how they're getting on. But that's just me.
I've always wondered where ugly twin, attractive twin were going.
Yeah,
You know, he's got some joke in mind or something.
and especially now they're kind of becoming teenagers. It's like, I want to see what's going on there. I mean, I think that stems back to Erik was talking about, like, before Savage Dragon's an Image, when he was a kid, he had stories with, like, them, and they were actually, like, Paul Dragon's sons, and one was ugly and one was, like, good looking. And he kind of, and I don't know, maybe Adam, you remember this, but tell me if I'm making crap up or not, but I thought I remember him saying that, and kind of just, he added that into the book.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't exactly remember either, but I've been wanting to see what's happening with them as well. So I'm sure we will at some point. I hope it doesn't take too long to get to them, though.
Do you think it was weird?
I'm on the next page.
Did you think...
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Did you think it was weird that, like, Malcolm pinpointed Thunderhead's mom as Rapture, like, so quickly?
A little bit. Although he did mention that Solar Man killed her, so that kind of narrows it down.
Yeah.
Can you explain that for me? Because I guess I didn't quite... I was slow on the upcheck there. I didn't make the connection the way it was in the book.
Malcolm's thinking, wait, Solar Man killed your mom and you have electricity power? Like, there's not a lot of people your mom could have been.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So now he's got another brother. He's got a ton of, like, superpowered brother. And it's like, it's weird. It's like, you call him the brother, like you're saying, like, it's from an alternate reality mom.
He's a genetic brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. He's as genetic a half-brother as a half-brother would be anyway. So.
Right.
So, I mean, now, counting this out, I mean, doesn't he's got a ton of brothers or sisters now. I mean, he's got Angel as a stepsister. He's got Thunderhead as a genetic brother. He's got, didn't Dark World Dragon have a child?
Oh, yep. Yes. And he would be a genetic brother as well.
People were calling him Battle Dragon, right?
Right. Yeah, Mutation's out there with him somewhere.
And he's got
with all these dragon siblings, more than likely he's going to turn up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Krull, and then he's got alternate reality stepsister Angel with Glum.
Don't forget her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, good God.
But I don't know, it's kind of
in whatever shape she's in.
Seriously, got to wonder if he's setting up some kind of dragon
gang featuring all the lil dragons.
It'll be interesting to see like what he does with that battle dragon baby.
Like a family reunion, except they're all fighting.
Right.
And none of them are actually related
to each other. And here's the other thing too: we never know. Talking about the Johnson twins, how one's ugly and one's not. They were conceived when Dragon was in the body of William Johnson, right?
Oh no,
right.
You're right.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's supposed to be the reason for the ugliness. Apparently.
Oh really?
We gotta get a family tree put together.
Like Dragon possessed William Johnson's body when he was killed, I guess, or however was magically banished, or
when Abner Cadaver was trying to break him apart.
Yeah, so there's also a connection there.
All I can say is it's just awesome for the future. I mean, it's one of the things that makes this book so great.
Definitely.
You can't imagine that the kid being raised by Mutation is going to be very well adjusted.
Yeah, right.
Because she's nuts.
And then, moving on to talk about what else makes this book so great. You get that page where you see, Dung and the Vicious Circle, and Dung is just aged. He's an older guy now.
I love that. That is the best.
Erik talked about that. He decided to change Dung's look a bit because the real person he's based off of, his looks changed since he created.
Yeah, Dung was a San Francisco DJ, and now he has his own podcast thing. His DJing days are over, besides his own podcast. But yeah, I don't know if you've ever listened to any of his old radio show recordings. If you go on YouTube and look up Dung in San Francisco or whatever, you can hear some of his old shows, and he actually how when you read Dung and you read his hey UI or something, he has
that's how he talks.
You can understand when you listen to the radio show, you get how it's supposed to sound, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love how he talks. He's gonna kill us all, baby.
He sounds kind of like Wolfman Jack on coke.
That's a pretty spot on likeness too. He looked a lot like him. We saw the photograph, and then there was the cartoon, and I was just man, he nailed it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of interesting just to get a head count of the Vicious Circle goons that are still kicking around. I mean, we got Dung and Powerhouse and Fever's there. Any idea who the green guy with the energy thing going on is?
No.
He looks like Inferno, except he's green. And didn't Inferno die?
Yeah, Inferno I think died.
So maybe he drew Inferno and there was oh, this guy's supposed to be dead. I'll just color him differently.
And I think
maybe that's my theory.
I know the bat-looking guy has shown up before.
Who's the blobby-looking dude next to Dung?
He's shown up before too.
And then I think when Erik did the interview for comicbook.com, he kind of confirmed that was some of the Vicious Circle kids, Open Face's kid with the baseball hat on.
100% Open Face's kid, but who do you figure the other kid is?
Is that Jerry from 171 was Thunderhead's friend who looked like War God's kid?
You could be right about that.
Remember, I don't know if you guys remember.
The one he was playing video games with? Oh, okay. You said 171, you think?
So.
Got a great memory.
So, hold on.
What's that, Raven?
You got everything?
Said you got a great memory. Gavin number 2.
Nah, I just looked it up and wrote notes.
That is, look, no, War God's Kid looks a bit different, although, it is a classic in the background Erik Larsen drawing in this particular issue, so some of the detail might be lost.
Is that the one that starts with the splash page of Skullface? Is that issue?
Yeah, well, it's the one
It's
with...
like, do your homework.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's sweet.
I mean, he's got the long hair. I mean, yeah, it could be.
And then you
What's
think...
funny is you just don't imagine these guys having kids.
Yeah, who are these people having sex with?
What lonely soul hooked up with Open Face?
With each other. Like,
there you go.
wild hair. And
all those bank robbery dollars got to go somewhere,
Well,
I
I'm
guess.
sure, like, Open Face could design some kind of device that makes him look normal.
A mask.
He's grown
A
to
paper
test-
bag.
Do you think Eric's kind of trying to throw us off again by, showing Powerhouse and Powerhouse kind of sticking up for Overlord, and then they're like, "Are you with us or him?" And he's like, "I'll get back to you on that." Like he's walking away to go don his Overlord armor, if that's the case.
I actually have something to say about that. What's interesting about this issue is our two main suspects that I believe most people agree on are the suspects are pretty predominant in this issue.
Oh, yeah.
I actually went back and I found the issue that Powerhouse and Overlord quote-unquote met, which was issue 154. And I reread it just to check to see if there's any real evidence that Powerhouse can't be Overlord. And from what I, determined, it doesn't really... what happens is Powerhouse is in a bar with fever, and a bunch of Vicious Circle flunkies come find him to take him to Overlord. And so when he goes to see Overlord, he walks into a room where Overlord is standing alone, looking the other way. They never actually speak to each other. It's entirely possible that the armor could be standing there with no one in it, and Powerhouse just set up the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but I also feel like it's too obvious.
Well, that's the thing. It is a bit obvious.
There's we may have talked about this before. I think we probably did talk about this a million years ago. But when he was first hyping like the return of Overlord, and he had those preview images, who is Overlord? And like one of those was the cover to 150, but another one was just like the Overlord mask, and then the third one was like the Overlord mask sitting on like a table with a dude in the background in silhouette.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just supposed to be, here's a generic character in the dark who it could be anybody, or if it was like the silhouette of this guy's head is a clue. And if that's the case, like he looks like a bald dude with a very prominent brow, and maybe we should put that image on the FINcast site or whatever too, because it's a really cool teaser image. I don't know if it's like a literal clue or just he's in shadow and it could be anybody.
Right, but we all know that Powerhouse can change into like a human form, right? Is that the case or no? Yeah.
Yes, that was a stab. That isn't well known because it was only really established in a backup that I think Frank Fosco drew way back.
I admit I had no idea.
Yeah, he apparently was a scrawny, nerdy kid, and then he discovered that he was the son of a god, and so he turned into this, giant, superpowered thing. And then when he looked in the mirror and saw he had a chicken head, he freaked out.
But that was also in the regular Savage Dragon. Wasn't there an issue where like people were like looking for Powerhouse, and like Powerhouse walks into a room, and then I forget who, but someone busts in and there's nothing but like a scrawny kid in the room when they're looking for Powerhouse?
Right. I don't know what issue that was. I think that's the only that was the only time that was ever really established in Savage Dragon, was that particular event. Just to jump ahead a little bit, later on, of course, Overlord attacks the editor of a local newspaper, Gossip Rag, I guess. Yeah, actually, it's literally called Gossip Rag. But if you notice in the Vicious Circle page, the very first thing I think Dung says is that Overlord is out to destroy the Vicious Circle, which is the same thing that appears on the headline in the next page.
Well, he says that. He says,
Yeah, I thought that was.
he says, you've seen the headlines. We're being slaughtered.
Right. So, here's my thought. If Powerhouse is, in fact, Overlord, he uses his Powerhouse persona to get inside the Vicious Circle's, the trust, get down to their level to hear what they're talking about. And so, learning about... this is where he learns about the headline to later go beat up.
Ah, yeah.
I think that is misdirection.
Well, yeah, if you want to take it either way, what's funny is right underneath it is Malcolm Dragon and Sister's Love Nest. So both suspects' headlines of
Have
Rage
motives. Right.
are right there,
Yeah.
one over the other.
Yep.
Yeah, and on the next page, Angel's back to school, and the bomb drops that apparently a security camera caught her and Malcolm. They didn't actually do anything, so I'm really
They were
curious
like
about what the
about
security
to,
camera
or they
actually
looked like
took
they were
photos
going
of.
to.
Yeah, and so that got out to the gossip rags, and it's very embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yeah, and that's a
As it
cool
would.
thing Eric's doing.
Especially-
Is in this day and age of TMZ and all those kind of gossip rags and stuff like that, it's cool that Eric's showing in this book Malcolm's a celebrity, so it's cool to see how he's getting affected by paparazzi and stuff like that. It makes sense.
But who reads newspapers anymore?
This teenage girl.
I like the next page with the Church of Savage Dragon, which I think is pretty freaking cool. With the stain.
That was teased previously, right? At some point, I believe Malcolm was talking to somebody about it.
I believe you're right.
How
Yeah.
these
Oh yeah.
Church of the Dragon people,
Well, Dragon wrote that book, right?
right?
And that's where they're going off of this.
I didn't notice they got a stained glass window with
Yeah.
a fin on it.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
And
And if you notice, John Day's in
John Day is
church.
one of the converted.
Of course it is.
Apparently, what they're preaching is that apparently you get to choose your own afterlife because that's what God told Dragon.
Hey, I might have to join up.
Well, Dragon certainly has come back enough, which, how many times have these people seen Dragon come back from the dead?
Right.
Yeah, you'd think that superhero universes would have more cults that are obsessed with superhero resurrection.
Right.
Yeah.
This guy, though, with 40 chins, he's into it.
That's another kind of classic Larsen page, too, with the long, skinny panels. I feel like we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah,
It's almost cool.
It is cool.
Dipping into all the old tricks,
and it's a useful way to convey a lot of information in just one page.
I really like that page. Then we get Malcolm finding out about the story, and he's going to go do something about it.
That's a funny visual, it's the subtlest of dumb things. Maybe it'll be a running gag or not, but Malcolm's holding the newspaper with the page towards you in the second panel on that one. There's the exact same toilet paper ad from the other issue.
I just noticed that too. Right when
Yeah.
you guys were talking about it. I was like, when you really gotta poop, wipo.
That's it.
What is it?
It's the same one. It's this ad that just comes up from time to time when you see newspapers in Savage Dragon. And it's just always these two rolls of toilet paper, one standing up and one on its side.
What other issues have they
And,
appeared in? How have I...
I only saw it in an issue ago, but if it's a longer running gag, that's even
I can
more
tell you
awesome.
it's in. I can tell you it's in number 29. I'm pretty sure.
Like issue 29,
Wow.
like 29?
Yeah, do you remember the thing with the Peter Clapton videotape where Dragon thought that Rapture was
Yeah.
cheating on him?
Yeah.
So when Rapture finds out the next issue, I think it's 29, maybe it's 30, but she finds out that he moved out of her apartment and she's like, what the hell? And Hortus is like, he left this videotape and said it would explain everything. And she's like, oh god, and now we got to go to some shop and buy a VCR so we can watch this. And I'm pretty sure there's papers blowing on the bottom panel while they're walking off. And one of them has really big the ad for when you really got to poop. Wipe it.
And Raven, you said it showed up recently too?
Yeah, it was in another issue. Malcolm was reading a newspaper, or somebody was holding the newspaper. The exact same, like, upper. They must get good rates on that upper corner ad or something, because it was the exact same place.
I love this book, man.
Yeah, maybe they just have a dedicated deal.
It's like,
I was just like,
reading this book now, it's like 181 issues, and you still like find new stuff out about it. Great little Easter eggs.
find out it had like better history than that. I thought it was just the birth of a new running gag, but that makes it even cooler.
There's probably other ones that it was in too. I mean, I can think of various panels where there's just newspapers blowing in the foreground, like Emily Schwartzblatt getting on the bus to come try and tell Dragon that he's her son Rodney. I don't know. There's papers blowing there. It might be there.
That's funny because like people that don't like, or maybe if they're somehow listening for the first time, are probably like, huh.
What the hell is he talking about? Yeah.
We haven't seen like
what? Why are they
like
spending so much
Boom Pow Tacos in a while, have we?
No.
Tacos.
He used to put signs for that up everywhere. I actually think the Boom Pow Tacos is in the Vanguard backup. I could be wrong though.
You know what my favorite? Sorry.
Yeah, it is there. We'll get to it.
One of my favorite, one of those like newspaper gags ever is when Erik was drawing Thor for a couple, 2 or 3 issues, and there's this one double-page spread of like a bunch of the heroes standing on a city block, and there's this. You just can see all this activity on the city block, all these cars and people, passerby come and go. And on the ground somewhere, there's a newspaper with a headline, writer kills artist, or artist kills writer. And it's just one of those, like, you probably hated drawing this double-page splash with all these cars and stuff.
You're talking about Thor in the Marvel book, right?
Yeah. Well, the Marvel
I
Thor
remember
that
that.
Dan Jurgens wrote. Yeah.
That's what's so cool was all those like countless Easter eggs,
So it's
because the stained glass window is pretty much wasn't that like kind of the exact same logo that ran in the back of the letters column for a long time?
Yep.
Definitely.
Actually, I think it was in the inside front cover for a long time, and actually it's on the FINaddicts. It's on the FINaddicts letter column header right now.
Oh yeah, we're gonna flip here real quick. It's funny, I gotta like verify it like you're lying. We flip back.
Liar.
Oh, dog.
I made it all up.
There's another segment on
You're
this.
like, you're wrong. You're
Game's
wrong.
complete. FINcast is a success.
No, that's cool. That's what's so cool about it. Is it's kind of like a little nod to that like long time logo. I don't know. It's a nice little touch,
So we cut to the scene, and it seems like Frank's kind of an understanding guy, so it doesn't seem like this is going to cause any problems with Angel and Frank, this gossip rag stuff. And then
A little too
I don't know,
understanding.
that first panel of him, it looks like he's more pissed off than he's letting
yeah,
on.
maybe. And then you get the scene where Malcolm goes to Gossip Rag, which is funny that it's, like we said, it's named Gossip Rag. It's right on the door.
It doesn't even pretend.
Willard Willie Williams.
Willard Willie Williams.
Yeah, you gotta have J. Jonah
WWW.
Jameson, R. Richard Richards. I think when Erik was publisher of Image, he should have been like E. Erik Erikson.
Yeah.
But you see a little bit of his father's personality in Malcolm in this one, where he's just like, "Yep, I'm going in."
Who's gonna stop me? I'm big and green with a fin on my head.
And it's the next page is a great splash of Overlord. He looks really cool in it.
And of course, that guy looks just like the editor of Gossip Rag, as you'd imagine he'd look.
Exactly.
Greasy greaseball.
All sweaty.
He's only missing some kind of gold chain
Yeah.
around his neck.
That's it.
He's like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chest hair far too exposed.
Girls love it.
He could be the son of Dung.
Yeah.
His slightly more professional older brother. Slightly.
Feces.
And you get this cool little action sequence with a lot of cool. Each panel's got a cool sound effect, and basically lots of
Wham.
speed lines.
For a whoosh.
Yeah, he said he'd missed the speed lines. Well, they are
Yeah.
back in full effect. And I noticed this has a lot of tone, like a lot of zipatone, and like, you know, that's cool. I
You know,
like that.
and Eric's the master of like different camera angles. You know, like different. You look at like the bottom two panels. You got looking up at Dragon, and then you got like look from the floor looking up at Dragon's back. It's cool.
You know, the editor of Gossip Rag, if you look on the back page, he's got a big metal foot in his crotch.
What's
Oh,
that?
he does.
Poor guy. He's got a big Overlord boot in a
Oh,
joint.
yeah.
You think the that second panel there on that page with the 4, you think that line is a little Mitt Romney joke?
Where's that?
He says, somebody's got to talk Willard here out of playing fast and loose with the truth.
I don't know. It sounds more like Overlord being, I don't know, Overlord.
No, not like Overlord's making a joke, but like Eric's making a joke.
Yeah, maybe.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
This Overlord talks old-timey anyway. You wretch, you sniveling wretch. Still your lying tongue.
Classic, like Dr.
Where does he
Doom-esque
get this?
speech.
It's like a filter on the like mask.
Yeah, there's no way he sounds like anybody.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't really sound like anyone, I guess.
Yeah, it could just be a ploy that someone's trying to hide,
Yeah, talking like a cornball. It's like part of the elaborate ruse.
Well, yeah, that sniveling wretch stuff sounds more like the original Overlord. It could be this guy is trying to sound like that, because he wasn't really talking like that when he first showed up.
He
Like,
sounded more like a teen, didn't
Still
he?
your tongue.
A little bit. He seemed a little inexperienced with the world, unrealistic expectations, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Expected everything to fall in line once you started busting a few heads, and it doesn't quite work that way. You know, got a reality check a few times. But what was I going to say about this? Oh yeah, so we got Overlord choking the shit out of Greaseball here. So of course we got two motivations going on here. Either Powerhouse is pretending to be a regular guy, and he's taking his knowledge of what was written in Gossip Rag and gonna go beat the hell out of the guy who wrote it. Or we got Frank Jr., who is pissed off that his girlfriend is being jerked around by the Gossip Rag, and so he put on the soup to go beat him up. Or
Talk about
third
an abuse
option,
of power.
it's complete misdirection, and it's neither of these two people.
Yeah, that's sort of where I would put my money, is because always when I think like, oh yeah, it's clearly supposed to be this guy because he's setting it up to be, this guy or this guy, then usually it's misdirection on purpose with Eric's mysteries.
I think I mentioned in the past who I hope it is, who I think it is.
Lay it on the line, Jim. It's close enough.
I think it's Chris Robinson.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah?
did mention that.
It's weird though. I never.
And the
Go ahead,
reason
sorry.
the reason I think that's the case is because at the time I started rereading Savage Dragon from 101 to whatever was current at the time, and I thought it was very odd that Chris Robinson and Alex left the book about one issue before Overlord showed up.
Good deduction.
Of course, if that's the case, the big question is where's Alex? Because I haven't been able to come up with any good theory to explain where her whereabouts are.
The Frank Jr. thing kind of makes some sense, though. And I never really took it serious until you just pointed out in this issue where he's kind of like, yeah, I'll take care of that magazine. Like, he kind of sounds real hesitant and weird in his conversation with Angel. And then the other thing is there could be some jealousy there that, all of his, his sister or not sister, but Malcolm
sorry.
and Angel have powers and he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And, of course, you got to think about this. If it is Frank Jr., he was directly responsible in killing his own father.
Yeah.
So, Angel gets a surprise visitor.
Captain Stewart.
Captain Stewart. Captain Stewart.
Enjoying some coffee, Angel.
Raven, you should just do the rest of the review, and you should just do it in that voice. As speaking in character as Captain Stewart.
As the captain. Your
Yeah,
granddad was a star player.
I think he's hitting on Mrs. D there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
That was my first impression.
Once a captain's wife, always captain's wife.
He played GTA. He likes some hot coffee.
So Stewart's
I can't
showing
explain.
up, wanting to see Angel. Apparently, he wants her to join the Chicago Police Department, which, in my opinion, would be a very interesting development. As a fan of Angel, it would be, in my opinion, I keep saying that, it would be a good place for her, a good fit, but I got a pretty good feeling that's not where Erik's going to take her.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Again, this is a great scene just because it's like they're just in a kitchen drinking coffee, but still interesting stuff comes right out of it, you know? Like the potential for her to join the force.
And also the potential for her not to. I mean, you get that sort of unsure feeling from her.
And then you also have the captain, you know, she's like, well, you know, what about Frank Jr.? It's his dream to follow in his dad's footsteps. And he's basically like, well, he's not ready. So is there going to be some, like, animosity there if she does decide to go for it? Or
Right.
And even the package deal line is kind of like, wow. You know, that's kind of like cracky.
Laying it on the table there, Captain Stewart. Don't pull no punches. Speaking of not pulling punches, Overlord is kicking the shit out of Malcolm.
Choom.
boing.
Boing.
Proc.
I guess that's a garbage can.
That's the
you know?
garbage can he's hitting, yeah. That's
Boing.
clever. And then in classic Larsen style, he gets his midsection blown out.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I was worried for him, but I'm not too worried for him. I mean, it's just his, like, side where his lungs live.
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
One of his kidneys is gone. It's cool.
It's kind of a cool thing because I know this sounds funny, but you can kind of even tell that's Malcolm from the back. And I mean, it's just a guy with the fin on his head, but it shows how he's kind of like...
He's kind of got fat shoulders.
Yeah. He's kind of coming into drawing that character, you know?
He's definitely got a slightly different build than Dragon. Slightly squishier, chubbier. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Fat shoulders is it. He's kind of got like super broad, even as a dragon, for shoulders.
The cool thing too about Malcolm is that Erik had like the foresight or just the idea to kind of shade him a different, like a darker color green.
Yeah, he's not the same skin color exactly.
Which
I like
is pretty
that.
neat.
I think it's cool.
Because he wouldn't be. Like, it makes sense. And
Yeah, definitely. So that ends that issue.
And there are letters.
Oh,
Good
such
job,
sweet
bro.
text.
I'm pleased.
Yeah. And letters with questions. I always like letters with questions.
Number your questions. I love that. Yeah. It's classic at this point.
It is. And so for this issue, we don't get the next installment of the Gary Carlson, Frank Fosco Vanguard series, but we get a reprinted Vanguard story. And Adam, I forget, what issue? It's from Megaton 2 or
it's
3?
from Megaton number 1.
Oh, it's from 1.
It's the very first Vanguard story ever published.
Yes.
And that back cover actually wasn't what was supposed to go with this story. There was supposed to be an ongoing Vanguard series.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
And you did the flats for this, Adam?
Yeah, and I was working from I didn't know what color mixtures that Erik wanted to use for Vanguard, so I figured he'd probably be changing the colors a lot. Like, I knew he was going to do the newsprint thing like he did on Herculean and some of the next issue project stuff. But I basically used the flat colors that I used when I was working with David Seltzer on the other Vanguard stuff, and I posted one of the pages on my Facebook, and you can go see one of the flat and do side by side. It's really different looking, but still kind of cool. And I mean, a testament to Erik's like process, like the newsprint texture. That's like real. He got that by scanning in comic book pages, like like actual. It's not just a digital like Photoshop filter. It's something that he's painstakingly constructed, and he went through and gave it that look. You know, it looks like it would have looked if it were printed in color when it was first published in 1983.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
You know, it was just kind of funny because it was black and white to start with, but I really like that kind of approach. I really like the heavy use of knockouts that he does, where like a character is like red just against a yellow or white background or something. I think that looks awesome.
My favorite thing is like the space shots, like of spaceships with the knockouts with like the black, like the bluish colors that run off onto the black. Like you always saw that in space books.
Yeah, and like today, there's such a big like you have to, you know, you back up your blacks, and so stuff doesn't bleed through unless you want it to bleed through like on purpose, like this, so it looks like an old fashioned, you know, 100% black printing, and it's pretty cool looking.
It's funny, I know this is nerdy, but like, doesn't Photoshop even automatically do that for you when you like choose black? It throws a bit of a process in there.
Yeah, like the default black is a rich black. It's not 100%, and so you have to do it intentionally, and you know, it's a little bit. Sometimes, depending on how you're working, it can actually be more complicated to go with like the old kind of 100% versus one that has a color in it.
That's cool. That's cool.
What year did this originally come out? 82 or something?
I think it was done. It was drawn in 82, but it was published in 83, and it was Erik's first professional gig. It was, you know, he'd sent Graphic Fantasy, the book that he and his friends self-published with those very early Dragon tales, around to different fanzines and reviewers, and Gary Carlson was putting together this anthology book with a number of different artists, and you know, we've talked a little bit about it before, that you know, this is where Youngblood debuted. This is, you know, Frank Fosco's Etherian was in Megaton. Angel Medina did stuff in Megaton. A number of artists that, you know, went on to have huge careers and are still working today.
Well, yeah, and like Liefeld called Gary Carlson like the godfather of Image Comics. I mean, you have Liefeld and Youngblood and Erik and Savage Dragon, and Angel Medina worked on Spawn.
And you know, Etherian's not like a household name or anything, but you know, that headgear that Etherian wears, that headgear is like had a profound effect on Rob. Like, he loved that and carried it in through like a number of his characters, like the original version of Prophet. You know, when you looked at that, that's actually an influence from Frank Fosco's work, you know, in Megaton. And so it's interesting to make those connections that I didn't even realize it was there.
Is that something Rob stated in the past, or?
I don't know if he's I don't know if he said it out loud, but it's, when you look at I believe he was a big fan of Frank's work in Megaton, so it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
that's really cool.
That is cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because that headgear is on like 90% of his dudes in the 90s.
Yeah, like Shaft and like all those guys that like, I mean, Rob's the dude who obviously like carries his influences on his sleeve, but you know, some of those influences are more, you know, obvious than others. Frank's not the most famous artist in the world, and a lot of people, you know, I wish Etherian was a better known, you know, property and everything, and maybe someday it will be, but I think probably more people would have made that connection if it was like just a more commonly known, you know, look and everything. But Megaton was a big book in the 80s, like in terms of there's that like sort of black and white explosion of the indie scene, and so it was its influence is you know, still felt today, even though, when I was growing up and I was a kid in the 80s, I hadn't heard of Megaton for, really until I became familiar with Gary's work that he was doing with Erik at Image, and then going back and picking up the old issues of Megaton and the old the issues of Big Bang that he did right before I was at Image and that kind of stuff.
This was awesome for me. I'd never laid eyes on this, so it's really cool that this ran. I mean, I don't know. It's really, just to see, Van carry so much of, and Wally just looks like the same. I don't know. It's just awesome to see the origins of this stuff.
Well, it's funny. It's such, the typical 80s comic, too, where they're fighting, the Russian robot and stuff.
I know. I love that.
The hammer and sickle right on his chest.
Eric's cars still look the same.
Yep.
And there's that, what's it called? Boom Pow Tacos?
Yeah, Boom Pow Tacos.
This third to last panel.
You're going to need some WIPO.
No John Day, though, huh?
No, but there's this really weird-looking guy right below the taco sign. What's going on with his eyes?
Yeah, I see what you mean. He's got a fro, and yet his eyes are like Bugman eyes. Well, the dude off to the right looks like a luchador. The little luchador mask.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good issue, though. It was cool that he did do that reprint. And
yeah. I'm curious as to why they did it. Maybe it's just to hold over until they get the rest of the Vanguard serials ready to go. But it's cool to have. I mean, it's really cool to read. I want to say they reprinted another Vanguard story a while back. I'm trying to think what issue it was. You guys remember?
You mean this story when it was first reprinted? Or...
Oh, is that the case? That might be what it was. That's why I remember this, is that they reprinted it in black and white.
Well, yeah, no. So it was originally in black and white in Megaton, and then it was reprinted in the first issue of the Vanguard Ongoing in 1993.
No, that's not what I mean. There was a.
You mean Prism?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Prism. Prism.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, different comic, right?
And he almost colored that, and I think he just ended up either not having enough time or just wanting to run like it originally had. But he started coloring it before it ended up running in black and white. But for Vanguard, this was originally going to be the kind of bookend to Frank and Gary's story, and it was going to run the issue after that concluded. But Frank's actually juggling a lot of stuff right now. He's working on some other projects. I don't know if those are going to be announced anytime soon or what. Some of them are not really comics related, but he's been getting a lot of work lately, which is really awesome. And
yeah, it is really cool.
And some of that stuff is it needed to be turned around, quick. And so, Vanguard got put on hold for a little bit, and this was already sort of in the pipeline. And so we were just kind of like, okay, well, this could run next. And, I think Erik wants to do some more reprints of some of the older stuff. I don't know how much, but probably from time to time we'll see some more stuff like this.
That's cool. That's good news about Frank. Any time you hear about Frank getting more, artist-related work is a good thing. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, he does really good work, so he definitely deserves it.
Yeah.
So
that's that.
Yep, that's that. Issue 182. Definitely
fantastic.
An issue. If you're well, who am I talking to if I'm saying if you're not a Savage Dragon fan, check it out. But if you know anyone who might get interested in good superhero comics, I recommend stuffing this book in their hands. This issue in their hands.
I totally agree with that.
Word.
Word.
So, next episode is going to be a bit of a special episode for a couple of reasons.
Fantastic.
We have officially survived an entire year as a podcast.
They said it couldn't be done.
They did say that. In fact, I
They
think I
still
said
say
that.
I said that.
Oh.
I think everybody
I'm
says
wrong.
it every episode. You guys start and you're like, this is probably going to be the last time we're going to do this.
Yeah. How can a podcast survive following only one title, they said?
They were wrong.
No, it's
We
cool
actually- We published episode 0 to the web on November 13th. So,
I'm eating cake on that day. More than usual, I mean.
And as a special treat for our 1-year anniversary, we're going to have Erik Larsen on again, which is always a good time.
And I don't want to hype it up, but he dropped some bombs that make Hiroshima look like a parking lot fireworks show.
Don't tell them we already recorded it.
Oh, then that's what I imagine it's going to be like.
What are you talking about?
Anyway,
It's going to be a really hard-hitting, in-depth interview.
I like how it's just showing
Ask the tough
like
questions.
Raven's face, like you could just see her
Take him to
smile.
task.
getting the tough
Where-
answers.
Where do you stand on Rwanda?
So yeah, we got that planned for next time, so come on back.
Cool.
It's going to be amazing.
The Savage FINcast is a part of the Gutter Trash Network and the Image Addiction family of podcasts. It can be found at either fincast.guttertrash.net or imageaddiction.net.